Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands, and today it's WNR473. It's the New Japan Cup and Sakura Genesis. But I am not alone. I have a pleasure to be joined by a resident NXT expert and New Japan deity. It is, of course, Monty. How's it going, man?
I'm doing good, ready to be back 2 weeks in a row here. But again, NXT, like you just mentioned, New Japan. This is my domain. I'd like to say when it comes to wrestling. A lot of both of these things I've spent a lot of time with now over the years. So always happy to be back and talking about New Japan. Yeah, it's a big time. Like I said, New Japan is back, and we can explain why I feel that way as we talk about the New Japan Cup and Sakura Genesis.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, like I said, so pleased to have you on board. Unfortunately, Jackson Gina can't join us today, but will be back for the anniversary show May 6th. So it's just Team Jonty today. And as the title suggests, it is New Japan Cup and Sakura Genesis. And you've already covered this on your podcast, Monty. So I'm sorry for making you having to go through all over again. All right.
Oh yeah, no problem, no problem. I did not. I took a lot of notes, did not throw them away. So I knew it was gonna. I've learned that I'm gonna need my notes. So it's all good. And the thing is about it, as much even though I try to get my raw or my first thoughts or my reactions from the shows out there, it's always good to revisit or get a second opinion on it. So it's gonna be fun either way.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And another thing as well, and especially with New Japan on this podcast, it's only been something we've been doing for the past couple of years, or especially this year, we're kind of in depth as we're going. So I know there's people who are listening who love these shows, learn a lot more about New Japan, and also maybe listen to the first time. So, bit of history first, if people don't know about the New Japan Cup. Since 2005, it's been considered the second most prominent tournament in New Japan after the G1 Climax, which is held in a round-robin format. Since 2006, the winner receives an opportunity for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. However, unlike with the G1 Climax, the reigning IWGP World Heavyweight Champion does not participate in the tournament. Participants, there's 23 matches. Now, obviously, Monty, you know the New Japan Cup more than I do. So for people maybe not sure, like kind of what's it mean? What is either comparable to, or what have previous kind of winners gone on to achieve, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, you most of the time you have previous winners who get a shot at the championship. Of course, some of them have became champions from this tournament. The best comparison I would give it is it's set up. It's the best way to set it up, or in your mind, especially if you're a WWE person. It's like a King of the Ring, but the King of the Ring stakes actually is the biggest stakes of them all at the end. Think of it that way.
Right.
But it's way more competitors than the normal King of the Ring. But at the end of it, you don't just get a crown gimmick and all of that or whatever. No, you actually get a shot at the World Championship. It's what tournaments, in my opinion, if they're not going to go the round robin route with the G1 and make it pay off in that way, it's literally doing the same thing, but just way quicker and, eliminate every match counts. I like to comment. It's another thing it has in common with is like March Madness in college, NCAA college basketball, which is American college sports. And they kind of do it. It's 64 teams in their bracket. And yeah, it's madness. It's exactly what it sounds like. You get all these teams from around the country. And, really it could be a team a college you've never heard of sometimes pop up in the Final Four because they got on this magical run and just didn't lose. So it kind of gives you that sense too. Like it's really about who is hottest right now going into the next year of New Japan, because it's always kind of in that seat post Wrestle Kingdom, being that very big tournament, right after it, before Best of Super Juniors, and a couple months before we get into the D1 also. So again, it's like you said, you really set it up perfectly. The second most prominent tournament in New Japan that promises a shot at the world champion. And, like you said, what have people who won this went on to do? They've either been able to make a name for themselves by becoming an IWGP World Champion, or they've been like my guy Goto, who's known for winning these tournaments, but had never cashed it in. And As a matter of fact, I'll talk about that later on with who we'll be talking about later on as the tournament goes on, because Goto has won 3 of these, I believe, and has never cashed it in and won the championship. So again, this is one of those type of things where it is a big deal, but it's also one of those things where if you don't win, you can kind of set course for other championships also, or you can make a name for yourself by in your first New Japan Cup tournament. So it's always a really good time to me. It's a lot easier to keep up with also than the G1 too. That's the one thing I like over the G1. The G1 is a very great testament to New Japan's talent and how long they can wrestle and all that type of stuff. But the New Japan Cup is really right to the point.
Yeah, no, we did the G1 last year. Like I said, there was a lot of matches that I didn't watch. I will say I watched every New Japan Cup match.
Exactly. You have a better chance of watching everyone in this tournament.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense as well. Watching it on New Japan World with the English content, it's very accessible. And another thing I quite liked about it as well is that you can even watch the whole event because you'll get some, New Japan Cup matches with tag matches on it to kind of fill it out, or you can watch just the matches as is. And I think I've cussed New Japan World before, but it has improved a little bit to be able to kind of watch. And this is very kind of accessible at this moment in time. Also, say the participants are chosen by a championship committee, just in case anybody wants to talk about it, because I know Hiroshi Tanahashi wasn't involved in this cup. And that is just because, he did face Okada, didn't he, at Battle of the Valley? So I suppose,
that was kind of like his they kind of gave him his little like, here, you get this title match, but you won't be able to be in the tournament for the first time in a long time. So, it's great. It was a great opportunity for him to get his title match. But like you said, I love that too. That they explained how this works. So sometimes you will see the odd New Japan talent complaining to New Japan like they haven't been on this, or I've been waiting for my opportunity this long. Well, it's actually true. They really do have like a committee of people who seem to select these placements. So this is I love that element because again, it at least gives you a reason for these people to be here.
Of a doubt. So let's get.
I don't know how Yano's got in here every year. Though. I don't know how Yano.
Trust me, there is a few wrestlers that I just don't. And we're gonna get onto Yano, especially coming up at Genesis.
I love Yano.
But we get the New Japan first round, and we're gonna start off. And it kicked off on Sunday, March 5th, in front of a capacity crowd. We had 2 first-round matches headline the show. Tetsuya Naito defeated El Phantasmo with a roll-up pin to go up against Chase Owen, who's a first-round bye. ELP really enjoyed Naito's entrance, and Naito enjoyed mocking ELP. So, and this is another thing I feel there's more freelance to do in Japan than there is maybe elsewhere, is other wrestlers kind of openly mocking each other and not... do you know what I mean? Imagine if, Seth Rollins making an entrance, or even, back in the day, and someone mocking it, I think it wouldn't be allowed. Where, they're just free reign to do what they want.
It's just, you go out there, you just do your thing, man, like you said. And ELP and Naito have one of those relationships where I don't know why. I think it's just because it's so funny looking, but Naito really has taken a liking to the way ELP does the Too Sweet and all of that. So it's just they have a really good time. And I think another thing here, this is one of those things I love about the Cup is when you have unique people like ELP entering his first Cup, or in this first time in this situation, especially as a heavyweight, you get a chance to see something that in New Japan that you didn't get a chance to see all the time when ELP was wrestling juniors. Every now and then they were touching tag matches, but to watch them put together a match like this and kind of show you that ELP is not all comedy. He's a special talent. That's one thing I always say. Like, he plays around a lot, and we definitely gonna talk more about ELP coming up throughout this tournament. But he definitely is special to me with some of the stuff he can do in the ring. He looked like a star in that match with Naito. He got a round of applause in that match. And Naito just outsmarted him, which he tends to do a lot of people in these tournaments with his flash pin ability. So, again, it's a great way to kick off the Cup. And like you said, it's always beautiful when you just get that character. I like you said, I don't think they're told to do anything when it comes to who they are as characters. They just go out there and do it, you know?
Well, this is the thing, and also Naito as well, is you wonder why Eva is so popular, as you're coming into it, and you realise the mind games and that kind of the way he is, that is putting opponents off their game for him to be successful.
Yeah.
So, it's, you're kind of learning about the characters. We also see Sanada advanced after using a modified DDT on Taichi to get the pinfall. He will face Kenta next, also by in the second round. The singing sensation now. Story of this, and even I got this, was the story of Sanada was at his lowest in this one, coming off a few losses.
Right.
And of course, Taichi bringing it out of him in the match. You don't usually see that with an opponent. And Sanada getting the win here, which may be the start of something to look for. But again, it's a very simple story to kind of latch onto, isn't it?
Yeah, man, it's very simple. And then, like you said, someone like Taichi not only wasn't in Sonata's faction, but he's also someone who has struggled notoriously himself. So it's like, for it to come from Taichi, it just meant a little bit more. I've talked about it. Sonata and Taichi has like a brotherly type of relationship from their past in All Japan, and they've had a sibling rivalry that make these matches so great. But like you said, that was the first time Sonata's nickname was the Cold Skull. So to get all of that fire that he started to get out of Sonata towards the end there, just really he woke him up, like you mentioned. And again, my thought process at the time was if he fought like that, I definitely said he can topple this whole entire tournament. And Taichi, again, I thought he would have deserved that win in the spot because again, he always loses in this spot. He gives a great effort. He did it with Zach early. Not that Zach. He did it with Jay White, I think, not too long ago. It's just like where he fights his ass off, and then he did it with Shingo last year. Fights his ass off, but he just can't get over that hump. Ospreay, I think he also did that with. So again, I can't complain, man. It really turned out to be great. It had the drama. It was decisive. And then again, a new finisher for Sonata. Like you said, a sign of things to come. So again, it was very unexpected. But again, Taichi has been notoriously, and this is one thing I'm going to leave you with. For years, he's been telling Sonata, you're wasting away in LIJ, man.
Well, this is the thing as well. And I was a little bit, you're not shocked by it. But again, I think Taichi, in my mind, is a bigger star than Sonata. So then this kind of happened.
Right.
And it's another thing I've learned from watching New Japan the past couple of years as well, is like whatever might be considered a shock or anything like this, there's a greater story at play usually. Whether it be a loss in a tag match or a loss in a tournament against the champion. But again, that's something we'll look at. They then had New Japan's 51st anniversary event on March 6th from General Gymnasium, I'm going to say. The event aired on New Japan World. First round, Shota Umino defeated Yurihiro Takahashi. The future is now, Monty, really. Shooter, with his Mox entrance, he looked good. Like he looks different. No offense to Ren Narita, but, Shooter, it's like...
Right. No, Ren has grown definitely a lot. He's definitely changed, but you're right. Star just written all over Shota. Just visually, you can see it. Like you said, the entrance is perfect. He probably has my favorite entrance in New Japan because of just like you said, you never know where he's coming from and just how big he feels. And this is I must say, we mentioned that committee, and I was talking about Yano, but honestly, Yujiro sticks in my craw almost just as much at this point. His stick has really, really, really ran this course. As much as I don't mind, as much as when I first started watching New Japan, I did not mind and enjoyed the Tokyo Pimp gimmick and all of that. He's just been doing. It's been the same thing over and over. He's barely believable when it comes to giving him a chance to win. But anyway, he survived the House of Torches BS as expected. Shota did, and again, this is entertaining. The crowd was into it, so this set up ZSJ versus Shota, which really was something I was looking forward to.
Yeah, without a doubt. And also in first round action, David Finlay defeated Tomohiro Ishii. The new David, don't call him Jay White, Finlay, did go over quite strong here. But again, we're going to discuss Finlay a bit more in depth. But this is a strong start over someone who, even if, not watching New Japan, Ishii has been featured heavily on Dynamite and elsewhere this
Mm-hmm.
past couple of years. So they're making a statement there.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely trying to prove something. Especially, again, he's getting more popular around the world. But beating Ishii in Kurikan in front of those people in New Japan, you know what I'm saying? Again, it's just like it means something. And I think, like you said, they were definitely trying to make Finley set a tone, or like you said, for who this rebel or this outcast character seems to be. And again, he did definitely look like Jay White. Like he just pretty much became him. He attacked him and became him walking next to Gato. But it was definitely, again, it was cool for me to see him in the new role, even though as someone who's been watching New Japan, it did also kind of make him look kind of hypocritical because, Finley, like we talked about, was the complete opposite of this guy for a long time, especially if you go off his personality. But again, I have no problem because again, he changed in the ring too. He may have looked like Jay White, but again, a lot of the tricks, a lot of the craftiness, he's completely different than Jay White when it comes to his style. He's a brawler, man, and he fit right in there with Ishii's formula. So I really thought this was a good re-debut of a sense for Finley.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And the main event of that show was the IWGP Tag Team Championships, Bishamon, which go to Yoshihashi defeating Kazuchika Okada and Hiroshi Tanahashi. And Okada's so cocky, but Okada wanted this, but luckily in Japan, and I'm so pleased to say this, a great tag team beat two great individuals.
Exactly. Don't you love it? The dream team, by the way, of Okada and Tanahashi do not fare too well so far has teaming up if you go overall. But it was a great match, man. And I agree with you. I was very, very pleased with that. Nice little nudge when it comes to how we see tag teams treated over here. So it's nice to see their tag champs looking strong there. It was an anniversary show, so it was a big deal. Usually you get like Okada versus the junior heavyweight champion. So I really like them switching it up and getting a tag team main event, giving Yoshihashi and Goto the spotlight also in there with two legends like Tanahashi and Okada. So it was great, man. It was a great match. Definitely worth the watch.
Yeah, but this is the annoying thing. I'm there for the New Japan, and I see that, and I go, well, I'm here, So if I'm here, let's just watch it as well, We move on March 8th, and it's show 3 of the 11 show 17-day tournament, should say. It has 8 first-round matches with 8 buys, so no show has 2 tournament matches. We had Mark Davis defeating Toru Yano in the first round New Japan Cup tournament match. This was comedy with some heavy hitting thrown in. You forget sometimes. But again, Mark Davis looking strong here. Then we see Evil defeating Ren Narita in first round New Japan Cup tournament action. I mean, poor Ren. Maybe next year. Maybe.
Yeah, he couldn't survive those tricks, man. And I just love how evil with him. Like again, evil. Like I told you, how I am. He's a turncoat. I always call him out his name, but I also got a secret place in my heart where evil is still special to me. And man, I still had fun watching this, even though the crowd and even my wife, she hated this because they screwed Ren Narita so bad. But it was great. It was a great time because, again, he's just, at this point, he is so evil. I always want to see him do good, but he's still a shell of what he used to be. But it's something about this New Japan Cup. It brought me memories, too, to what he did tonight, though. He just so dirty, man. So dirty. But it was... like you said, poor Ren. He'll be here, though. I think that's the thing with Ren. I think they know he'll be around.
Yeah, he can take a couple of losses, be right. And then Bullet Club, David Finlay, El Fantasma, Chase Owens, and Kenta defeated just 4 guys: Dookie, Taka, Taichi, and, of course, Shinobu. And again, you give me this, so it's a bit weird. I think people listening at home, Monty's kind of given me, like, these bullet points, would say the matches and stuff like this to watch. And then go back and then obviously fill out my own thoughts. But I'm actually going to say something that you've said. So this is going to be kind of meta. So this was the first time Dave Finlay and El Fantasma team up as Bullet Club members, and they argue with each other over Finlay's new leadership, and Finlay think ELP has gone soft in the entire tournament, which we were talking about.
Yeah, they kind of kept, and it started with that tag match, but like they kind of kept it going the entire tournament. And like even in that tag match, like they'll do things like instead of tagging each other to do the whole I'll slap my partner in the face to tag him in type of thing. Or like ELP towards the end of the tournament, basically giving Finley an ultimatum about like he better win the cup, or we are all that leader stuff he talking is nonsense basically. So again, they just, like I said, it's a difference of philosophies. Finley wants the Bullet Club to get back to busting skulls, taking titles, doing stuff that way, being more rough. And ELP, as I didn't mention in this Naito match, but I kind of mentioned with the pop he got during the match. The people throughout the tour just love ELP. It signs in Japanese from Japanese fans telling people in English saying, Dave Finley, please get along with ELP. Like they were asking Dave Finley to get along with him. That's how over ELP has gotten over there. Like the people are loving him. I don't know if it's just the entrance. I don't know if it's just his tactics, because he is a good time whenever he's in the ring. But again, he's selling T-shirts. He's about having fun. He's close to Jay White still, which is I think is also really the main thing. He didn't like how David Finley, got in the club. So again, this problem with Jay White, with ELP and David Finley, it persists the entire tournament. And I just thought, because of something that we'll be talking about at Sakura Genesis, it would be great for me to include that here so we could just get that out there.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, like I said, there's a lot of stuff to touch on. March 10th, New Japan first round, Carl Fletcher defeating Yoshihashi. This was good. And if Carl, even if he gets knocked out in the next round, he's pinned one half of the tag team champions. As we spoke about, we'll set up a match. And then other first round match, Aaron Henare defeated Shingo. What's going on? Come on. I'm not into Henare, but Will Ospreay reacted like they won the World Cup. But Shingo, ever since you've told me he's one of your favourites, he has been treated like shit. And I know he's champion and stuff, but again, you expect a little bit more.
Yeah, but see, the thing is like at this point, you got, again, this is where you need the view of the other side. Henare is one of those guys that the committee has overlooked for years, and also he was a guy who for a long time was a babyface, bland kind of, and was even worse than what he, it's like some people may not like what he's doing now, but I honestly, this is the best he's been ever. Like, this is the most they've ever given him. This is the most character work they've ever given him. So again, he may be, a little too sluggish for some people, but he has great striking, and he has a legit background. In the pandemic, when everyone else was going home and all that man went to a Muay Thai camp in Thailand and just started training, and like came back a guy for street justice. So again, I have no problem with this happening. And again, I like Shingo is one of my favorites. And this was in his hometown. So again, I was like, it's no way Hanare's gonna win, right? But Henare really unleashed a beating on him, man. And Shingo stormed back as he usually do. But again, with the striking exchange, and I've come to expect from Henare, as the match continued on, I was like, you know what? That's fine, and then it kind of went with that overarching story that Kevin Kelly was telling at the time, with the United Empire at that point having everyone still in the tournament, basically. All 6 of their people passing the first round. So they think United Empire really felt like the strongest faction. And I was very proud of him. Since I've seen how long he was losing, how long he was overlooked, it was a very big moment. And this is what I mean. The New Japan Cup is not just for the guy that you're trying to build up to possibly beat Okada. It's also for some of these other guys who usually don't get this opportunity to finally get a moment in the sun in a one-on-one setting with a guy like Shingo. Because again, this is a match that if this was the Henare from a few years ago, it wouldn't even be in this cup match. It would have been like in the first match, like he was fighting a young lion almost. Yeah. So to watch that progression, I think is part of the story. And then it set up Henare and Tama Tonga, who had a history too. So again, it's all, like you said, it's always a story there. It's always a story.
Well, the second round begins. So 18 matches go. March 11th, we had Chase losing to Naito. How did Chase Owens get a bye? Like, how did that work?
That's a great point. Now that one I can't explain. I don't know what it is. I don't know who he has dirt on.
Naito reacted exactly how I would with a win, just getting in his face and just being a prick about it. Sanada versus Kenta. Sanada beat Kenta. Henare was on commentary. He's a little bit nondescript. And not going too far. Speaking of commentary, 24 years ago this month on Heat Before Backlash, Michael Cole and Kevin Kelly were doing the pre-commentary before the King and JR joined them. Now look at them. Eight own shows. Good on them.
Right.
Anyway, so Sanada did beat Kenta. And Kenta's another one who I always feel, oh shit, like, he's always losing. Again, I know he's shock champ, but you know
There's
what I mean?
another champion, by the way. You feel me?
Exactly. Do you think I've worked out the formula? Like,
It sounds like it, right? No, I get it though, but that's the thing about, again, it's like, I think it's not about, in New Japan a lot of times they do a great deal of like letting you know that everyone is just like one or two big moves away from being taken down. It's really only like, that's why Okada is so special, because he is really one of those only people on the roster that is truly unbeatable for the most part year round almost. So I think that some of that has something to do with it. But again, obviously they had a story they were trying to tell with Sonata here. Overall, and again, Kenta did all the dirty tricks he could in this match. He tried to hit him with the belt, and that ended up coming back to bite him, and low blow. So and he just beat up poor Red Shoes plenty of times. So Kenta deserved to lose, but again, I understand completely what you're saying. He's one of those guys that what he can do, his reputation, but to watch him, have to lose or not prevail in these big spots. I can understand how that can surprise you.
Yeah. But like I said, there is a bigger story going on. March 12th, we've got Tama Tonga versus Aaron Henare. Tama getting a win and making maybe light work of Aaron. And I don't get him, but you've already explained more about Aaron Henare in the last 10 minutes than I've probably known the last 6 months. So, I do like Tonga, but I feel he's a bit of a home pattern as well. Jeff Cobb was on commentary, and he was very, very good. We then
he's awesome.
We then had Hiroko Goto beating Carl Fletcher. The United Empire was in amongst it. Another half was the Open, facing Bishamon as well, with one win each. And Fletcher is the future, I put here. And again, we're going to see that, I think, even more when it comes to Genesis as well.
Yeah, I really want to say that if it's anything underneath the Sonata stuff that I took away the most from the entire tournament, it was probably my outlook on Aussie Open as individuals. I knew they were awesome as a team. I've seen them do what they do as teammates and being a great team. I'm not saying that's easier than being a great individual, but again, when I notice you as a team anyway, or I'm introduced to you that way, it's easier to grasp. But when you watch both of those guys in one-on-one matches, still be able to put on pretty compelling matches, like you said, especially with Kyle Fletcher's age. Yeah, man, I love Aussie Open. That was a big takeaway I got from this entire tournament.
Yeah, and again, this is another thing, and I always remember when it happened to me with the Usos, and it's happened now, where those are open, you're not sure which one is Carl Fletcher or Mark Davis, or even kind of what their names are, and it's like, I know the difference now.
Right. I know exactly who they are now. Right.
I know Mark Davis now, yeah. March 13th, we have Evil beating Jeff Cobb. What a fucking mess. What a mess. Anybody's telling me, I've had people say, fucking New Japan. I mean, the mess here. The ref bump, the House of Torture help. I mean, my God.
Handcuffs.
Greater Khan getting handcuffed. The poor fucker. But then moving on swiftly from that, Will Ospreay beat fellow United Empire member Mark Davis. Really fun match. But then we got news, unfortunately, that Will Ospreay, due to an injury to right shoulder, will be absent from the show, with Mark Davis taking his place. Mark Davis only the second time someone's done that in New Japan Cup history. But with Will Ospreay, and we talked about as well, he posted a video recently about his health. And I don't want to say I was right when we did our top 10 to the future, but, I mean, it's a bit of a shame, with Will Ospreay, especially after the Kenny Omega match at the start of the year. It's been stop and start again, hasn't it?
Yeah, and again, still, please go watch this match because I want. It was a really, really good match, and he got injured pretty early. Like you can watch the spot pretty much where he took like a splash on the outside of the ring to the floor, and you can kind of tell right there that shoulder was really uncomfortable. From that moment on, pretty much he was kind of favoring it and doing different things to try to get comfortable with it. But yeah, man. Like I said, Mark Davis really looked good in this one. So again, against one of the top 5 wrestlers in the world. But like you said, it's such a shame when it comes to Ospreay because he could be the main or the guy or the number one guy for many of promotions. But the biggest downside is because of that style that he's worked for so long. And again, he's changed that style already. This is a big, like you said, so he's a bigger guy. So he can't even do, a lot of the shooting, the 630s and all that stuff that he used to do. Like he mentioned in the video, not being able to land a shooting star press safely, so he don't even try it anymore. So again, when you think about all the things, and I've been someone who's kind of not day one because he was wrestling even before I even caught wind of Ospreay, but when I got a chance to kind of start watching him for the most part all the time in the junior heavyweight division in 2016, it was always beautiful to watch, but you always wondered, could he sustain this? And I think it only got harder when he put the muscle on, to be able to take some of the bumps he's taken and be able to do some of the things he did. So it is something. It's such a shame when you think about it like that way, just how much of his career probably is already cut short and he's not even really 30 yet. But I also think about, too, just how much greatness I've already gotten a chance to see. So you just got to have to tip your cap and try to appreciate him while he's still going and able to pick his body up. But again, it's just one of those things. It's just such a shame. It's one of those things that I knew that you made a great point about at the time, but it was like one of those things that you in the back, you're always just hoping against it because we're talking about someone's career and their livelihood and something they like to do. So as much as a great a point as it was, it's one of those things that you're kind of in denial about as a fan. You're like, nah, it's okay. He's gonna find a way to have a perfect bill of health. But here we go, another year down and another time where he had to take some time off. And this is now, by the way, he posted this video after them saying he's cleared. So he's telling you that he's cleared and he's not so sure about how he feels now. So it's just really, really sad when you think about it that way.
It really is. But a bit of good news, though. March 15th, Great Khan managed to get the handcuffs that he was attached to a couple of days previously. Unfortunately, Lo, your hero and mine lost to David Finlay. Again, not bad. Finlay needed the win. Cole Fletcher was funny on commentary. Still getting used to the new Finn. And after defeating Great Khan, he said, look at me, my talent, my potential. Khan can't compete with me. How many generations am I? It's a masterpiece born from the bloodline of the strongest and greatest wrestlers of the era. Even the strongest man in the world needs numbers to win a war. But we've all seen what a career without taking risks would look like. So whether it's like it or not, I'm the leader. He also said Bullet Club's job is not to follow me, it's to push me forward. I turned the era into gold. I came into Bullet Club, was waiting for me to lead. No, I entered because Bullet Club was a weapon waiting to be used by me. So David Finlay is now the 5th person to lead the Bullet Club faction. Of course, Jay White left a month, and we wondered where it was going to go. And again, I'm really surprised they have put a lot of faith in Finlay here.
Yeah, again, I have to say I've always been a fan, especially when he came back from his collarbone injury from a few years back, of his work. I always liked what he could do in the ring, but again, could he bring out, would Bullet Club bring out that side of him that we have seen? Like Kevin Kelly loved making this quote, but it's such a great quote about David Finlay because of how David Finlay looks and his personality at the time. They always say, Jushin Thunder Liger said, Finlay used to scare him. You make me laugh, basically. Dave Finlay is funny, is what he said. He looks funny looking. He seems like he's like a good guy, a sweetheart, by comparison to his father. So he's tapping into what his father was kind of all about and being just kind of, smash mouth. I'm whooping ass and taking names because he's kind of going into his bloodline and who he is. Finally starting to feel like a Finley and not just a pretty good hand, as people would label Finley earlier in his career. A good hand and a good guy is what Finley was known as. And now he's spitting that back in your face, saying, "No, I'm David Finley. You're gonna respect my name, respect who I am." And he's also, again, another thing about difference in philosophies and the reason why his problem with ELP. Bullet Club, he is using Bullet Club as a weapon. He's not hiding it at all of how he actually thinks about the club. And again, ELP has more respect for members like AJ Styles, Kenny Omega, people whose moves he's taken, Jay White, also people who symbolized what the club is all about, and he feel like Finley does not fit that description. So again, this was great here, and having Gato next to him, at this point with Gato's track record, he don't miss. You're gonna become world champion at some point if Gato is next to you. When you think about the fact that he's next to Okada and Jay White before him, so we'll see.
Yeah, excellent point. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But again, they've taken a punt on the future here rather than kind of either going back or trying something else,
right.
which is going to be interesting. Speaking of the future, future's looking bright for Shooter. In the second round, he knocked out last year winner Zack Sabre Jr. I was upset because obviously Zack Sabre Jr. won it last year, but then realised he was the champion. So I didn't really mind.
Right.
He did push his dad, but Red Shoes didn't seem to mind that, But it was interesting matchup. And
yeah, it was, man. Zach said he wanted to see what Shoulders got, and Shoulders showed him, exactly what he had. Zach said it was the ZSJ dojo, and it really felt like a student-teacher match, kind of, to where the student surprised the teacher in the end. It was a really good war. Honestly, and ZSJ made a really good point after this about their match that they were going to have later. Because, again, this was a 30-minute match, and the title match is only limited to 15 minutes. So this was a great, great precursor to set up what they would do later.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Well, 10 matches to go. Finals now. So March 17th for the quarterfinals. Mark Davis did Will Ospreay proud by beating Evil. And I don't speak Japanese, but I'm pretty sure Evil called Mark fucking useless, which kind of set him off.
He definitely said it.
I'm pretty sure he did. Kevin Kelly and Chris was taken out, with Kevin doing the slowest fall from a chair ever. Of course, this broke down with United Empire and, of course, handcuffs and all this kind of stuff, getting revenge. Greater Khan.
Oh, man. What he did to poor Dick Togo. Man, how entertaining was this, though? It was so good. That's the one thing I say. Like, the House of Torches formula, it can definitely be a bore if you've seen it a billion times. But, man, this was anything but boring. At the end of this match, I was throwing my crowns up with Mark Davis. It was that fun. It was really, like you said, cathartic. They did the kind of like gang war elements, Ospreay calling out the troops. It was a fantastic way to finish that match. And again, like I said, another fantastic performance from an Aussie Open member.
Yeah, well, shadow like Mark Davis really came into his own here. We then have the other quarterfinal, Sanada beating Naito, getting one over on his teammate and getting over Sanada's new finisher as well, which I really liked. But after the match, the change happened as the Cold School jumped ship and made just 4 guys into just 5 guys. Of course, Monty, as you know, Sanada has been with LIJ since his New Japan Pro Wrestling debut. And of course, following Evil's betrayal and turn to join the Bullet Club, he was not left to do, something which Taichi began to pick on in an attempt to convert him to the group. But just how big is this? Because for me, like I said to you last time, I'm still getting used to the groups and the teams. So again, we've just seen 4 guys as it was at the start of the year. Building towards, we know about the Bullet Club, we know about United Empire, but I know for you have been a huge fan of LIJ. So, kind of, what does this mean for the group as a whole, and were you surprised by it?
Okay, so I think I was not surprised Sonata won, but him actually leaving Lij definitely took me by surprise. But the way they did it, and once I kind of saw Tai Chi was around, it kind of the alarm, the light bulb kind of went off. Let's say it that way, because again, Sonata was definitely in the lowest of lows. Like you mentioned, a guy who's been in Lij since 2016, since he made his debut. His debut, by the way, helping Naito beat Okada for the IWGP World Championship at the time for the first time, even though Naito would eventually cough it back up to Okada the next month. Uh, again, this was Sonata one of those guys. Like again, it's right up there with Evil. Like you said, they were a great tag team, him and Evil for a while there. But it wasn't even just that. I've watched Sonata rise up and show just how good he can be in not only the New Japan Cup but the G1 and tournaments of the past. Just show again outside of how great Evil and Sonata was as a team. I've seen Sonata be great by himself. And again, in 2019, he challenged Okada one on one. Came just like fought 30 minutes really with Okada and came really close to beating him and was dubbed Okada's rival many years ago. And it's been so many ebb and flows and ups and downs in his career ever since then. Like I said, becoming a champion last year and then getting his orbital bone busted. This one thing I will say that I lost with Ospreay getting injured here was the fact that Sonata would have been fighting Ospreay after this, and that would have made this story even better if Sonata would have found a way to overcome Ospreay, someone who kind of just destroyed him and just made him look like a joke last year. And so, but again, for him to leave Lij and the way he did it, at first I thought it was like kind of, it wasn't really a problem. He was respectful, but then you watch the interview and you see what he actually said. It kind of said, I'm done with you guys. Leave, just get out. Leave my ring. And it's like, okay, no, this is kind of spicy. He really, felt some type of way. I love Lij's reactions. Bushi was like, kind of shocked. Shingo is very angry because it's Tai Chi. Like, you'll leave us for Tai Chi. You're gonna leave us for those guys, Taka, those losers. That's Shingo's thought process. And Hiromu took it very, very personally, as he took the same way he kind of took Evil. He really didn't like that one either. So again, and then when Naito finally got something to say about it, he threw his shots back at Sonata also. But again, Sonata felt like this was the only way he was going to be able to grow and become the man he was meant to be, which is the guy who changes things in New Japan. He's always had that goal. He's a quiet guy, but the few things he's ever said were that he was going to change things around there in New Japan. And again, he felt like the only way he could do it was to get off under Naito. He said no matter what he did, even if he was to become champion under Lij's banner, he would still be compared to and still would be not as good as Naito. And Naito's argument is, well, Shingo became the world champion and blah, blah, blah. But, again, like I said, Sonata's argument is he didn't change anything around here, which, like you just mentioned, you talked about Shingo's struggles pretty much since losing the championship, so maybe Sonata has a point. So again, it's just so layered and deep, the issues here, but because everyone has a lot of years together. But again, the execution of this was really, really perfect.
Yeah, I think this is the problem, especially with Shingo as well, when it comes to Lij, is the fact no matter even if he was champion or whether it was, Naito is the clear kind of leader,
right.
the main guy. So, like I said, to get out of the shadow is completely understandable. March 18th, quarterfinal, David Finlay secured his semi-final spot by beating Mark Davis was good on commentary, but I was looking at this match and thinking, this is the future of New Japan. Like, these two, Finlay and Shoot, will be fighting for titles and in tournaments for years and years to come. It really, really is good stuff. And then we had in the other quarterfinal, Tama Tonga beating Hiroki Goto in a fine quarterfinal matchup. Of course, getting the job done there. So not really much surprise in those two matches. And then semi-finals, March 19th, we had Tama Tonga versus David Finlay. ELP on commentary, and Finn didn't too sweet him. And Kevin had to tell ELP off for swearing as well. But this was a really good finish with Finlay getting the job done, managing to hit. Maybe he needs to change Trash Panda, his finisher's name, because I still think Finn Juice with that. But
exactly, I agree.
But it's arguably Finlay's biggest win. But it's Tama Tonga. He's just, for me, he's found a position and he's just kind of staying there at this moment in time.
Yeah, I think again he's a guy who for years, in a similar vein, was a great guy in the tag division, kind of like similar into Sonata. He's very similar to Sonata in a way because, by the way, those people that Evil and Sonata were teaming against a lot of times was Tom and his brother in Gorillas of Destiny. So it's kind of funny when I think about that. But again, he's another guy who. This is really great for what Tama has been so far in his career because this is his first single championship, his first run. But you're right. As of right now, he's kind of in this role. He won't necessarily be going up the card much, but he's going to be defending his championship. And I do think it's a good role for him for now. But eventually, yes, something's going to have to happen either. And I think maybe it starts with this Finley feud. I don't necessarily think he's going to. He may lose it, but after losing this match here in the Cup, this sets up Tom and David Finley going forward. So we have to see where they decide to go creatively for Tom going forward. But you're 100% right. He is seeming like he's a champion. And again, in a place like New Japan, maybe that's the thing. Is so many championships. It's one of those things where it's like, how much does that mean? But again, I think he needs a chance to try to give this open weight championship run for him and make it mean something. He wants a chance to make this run mean something, and I think that's going to take a little time.
Yeah, and the champ lost again, but I didn't mention it. You see, didn't say anything like that.
Right.
We then have the second semi-final. Mark Davis, man, did this man step up? We talked about earlier. This big man brought a bit of everything in this one, but Sonata had a new look, natural hair color and a shave. And I tell you something, he looked great.
A decade younger.
Oh my God, you know what I mean? He looked. I was going, no, that's not him, because Sonata definitely had a distinctive look. I would say in the past, this one is just. I love it when they do it. Sometimes when they do it right. I'm not saying Dolph Ziggler kind of change, but like this Sonata change, getting the job done. There's a couple of questions I have to ask because Mark had a great run in this, but Sonata, how long had he had the previous look? Had he had a different look? And also, he's still getting cheered. So my assumption is that because with five guys as well, it's not kind of like straight up hills. So I guess there's a lot of respect for him as well. So if you just explain that for me.
Yeah, Sonata is one of the most beloved people by the New Japan crowd.
Right.
That even in LIJ, he had this unspoken. All he would have to do is just go put his finger up to his ear, and everyone would scream or clap. So like they love Sonata. Like so, the way he did it was very Sonata-ish. Let's say it that way. So he didn't betray Naito. In the way that Evil betrayed him. He beat him and just told Naito he didn't want anything to do with him, which Naito said he doesn't force anyone to be a member that doesn't want to be there. A group of individuals, so do what you want to do, basically. Evil, on the other hand, as you saw, not only screwed Naito and screwed Okada and everyone else around him, he just ruined the whole dignity of the New Japan Cup. He did a lot of things bad that made them immediately hate him for turning on Naito. But it didn't work that way for Sonata because I think everyone kind of understood that it was time for Sonata to lead or be the face of a group himself. And I think that's what it is. I think a lot of these people were very, very proud that of what this Sonata has become. And by the way, this Sonata is closer to what he kind of looked like when he debuted or when he debuted at LIJ. He had black hair then. Right. But he kind of, as the years went by, he added blonde, and then he went full blonde and grew a beard, and he kind of came synonymous with being bleached blonde with his beard. Kind of looking like a pirate of some sort at times, with a skull mask on. But but he's evolved over the years. But this is more of his natural look, more to how he looked when he was, first starting out. And this feels more like Seiya Sonata, like really who Sonata is, not the Cold Skull, not whatever the great Sonata was that TNA had him doing back in the day when he was young. But this is Seiya Sonata, like a new era of Sonata, completely unrelated to LIJ Sonata. This is just Five Guys Sonata. So yeah, it was clean shaven, new look, and I like you said, I loved everything about it because again, it just showed he felt like he watched all of that depression, like the beard and the blonde hair was him wallowing in depression. He washed it all away and shaved it all away. That's what happened.
We move on March 21st. We've got Hiromu defending his IWGP Junior Heavyweight title versus Lio Rush. The pace of this was fantastic. It really, really was a great match. The champ retained just. And I tell you what, if Lio can sort out his attitude, he can do what he wants in this business.
Yeah.
You know, I think that is the problem there. Zack Sabre Jr. arrived after and told Hiromu his next challenge is new member of TMDK, Robbie Eagles.
Yay.
But the match
Australia.
the match itself, though, was, like you said, I can see why you made me watch this.
Right. I said it was no way you was going to, like, I know it wasn't a part of the cup, but there was no way I was going to let you watch the final and not watch this match. It was that good. They had warm-up tag matches throughout the tournament, and they were did a good job of, again, Hiromu claiming that he had Lio Rush all figured out just to get to the title match and absolutely have no clue what to do with Lio Rush. It's just one thing I love about Hiromu and his lies. He's just he's insane. He's a time bomb for a reason. But yeah, one of the best junior title matches in a while. Probably one of the best I've seen. And I think everyone won if you sat down and watched Lio Rush and Hiromu do their thing, man. Honestly, that made me write in my notes, New Japan should sign Lio because he's been run wonderful. Like, not just one of these come for a tour here and tour here, that type of thing. Like, sign him. He should be on at all the tours because of how great he has been since coming to New Japan in the tag division and in this situation. This is great.
Yeah, without a shadow of doubt. And then we move on to the New Japan Cup final. It is Sanada versus David Finlay. And who would have guessed this at the start of the tournament? Sanada was on the defense at the beginning with his new finisher, managed to pin Finn and win the New Japan Cup. First off with Finn, it's going to take time, but all the tools are there,
Yes, I agree.
All I would say, just stop with the Zoolander face. He comes out and just goes, ooh, like, look at the camera and it's like, come on, Finn, mate. Come on, mate. Come on, look. I know you're attractive.
See, that's what I'm saying. And that's the thing about Finn. It's part, like, I still see it, too. I think we must be also watching, like, see, that's still our Dave Finlay. He's still a little corny. Like, that's still the Dave we know. You know what I'm saying? Because, again, it's like, you're still trying to get it in your mind, wrapped around in your mind, what David Finlay is trying to do here, because again, it's such a contrast to what we've come to know. But yeah, I agree. He's working on it. He's gonna get there. He's gonna
get there. And hometown hero Sanada. I can't work out if Tai Chi is Ripley or Dominic yet. But
he loves Sanada. I don't know. Like they say it's a sibling thing, but man. Nah. He's the biggest, like, he's such a mark for Sanada.
There's a Tony D. Stack situation going on there.
Yes. Yes.
We see Sanada cut a promo after he was awarded the trophy, saying he's happy to win the tournament in his hometown. He eventually called out Kazuchika Okada, who obliged. Okada is such a dick sometimes.
His energy is so great here.
He said he'd been waiting for Sanada and asked why it taken so long to reach this point.
So long, man?
Why it take so long? He said just because he changed his hair colour and allegiance doesn't mean Sanada can beat him.
Right.
Sanada finished the show by saying just 5 guys will become the top group in New Japan and he will become the next heavyweight champion. And again, I've realised it's not really kind of... I mean, you have got heels and faces in New Japan. Like House of Torture. But it's not
House
really,
of Torture, definitely.
It's not really about that. It's about how much respect the fans have for you. Like Okada could run over kittens and the fans would still kind of forgive him. And again, it's just working up to that level, without a doubt.
And it's about fighting spirit and how you fight, because that's why Aussie Open and United Empire are so over. They're not, if you go off what they say, they're not necessarily good guys, but they fight clean and they fight hard, and that's why people love them.
And there was, I mean, what were your thoughts on the New Japan Cup this year? I know we have just spoken about. I mean, compared to previous years,
So it wasn't really like, I don't think it was the best cup by comparison to like other years when it comes to match quality. All of these matches may have not been some of the greatest matches or some of those classics that you're kind of used to when it comes to a tournament in New Japan. But I think when it comes to storytelling and, like you said, building up the next crop of stars or people that they're going to be leaning on post Jay White and and going forward in this era, like I think that's where this New Japan Cup shined the most. Like I said, it's no surprise that the two guys who changed the most, evolved the most over that tournament is the two guys that were in the finals. You know what I'm saying? It's not a surprise that we have so many new interesting things going on, new factions to talk about. Like I said, New Japan is trying to establish, yes, they're trying to continue what we know and love or what we've come to expect when it comes to New Japan fans, but at the same time, they were building towards a bigger narrative, new stars, new people at the top of the card, new people and new and different roles too. They're doing things this year that they've never done with open weights being allowed in New Japan Cup, and maybe in the future you get to the point where they have the lightweights in there too. Like they seem to be evolving every year, and I think this was another one of those years where the story that they told with the entire tournament made it worthwhile.
Nothing about that. That's very interesting. I always love the tournament, so I really, really got into this as well. Before we get to Sakura Genesis, we had the Road to April 2nd, Shingo versus Hanare, the KOPW Championship, a match where you have to win 3 times, once by submission, once by knockout, once by pinfall. First to all 3 wins the match.
You can thank Hanare for that, by the way.
Fuck me. Well, I thank you for me watching this. This was long, man. It was like 45 minutes. Aaron got the first win with submission. Shingo responded with submission win of his own. I did like the trading of the headbutts, don't get me wrong. Shingo got the pin with a backslide. Aaron returned fire, but getting a pin right after. Both men were knocked down, but Shingo got up at the count of 9 to win. So again, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I like Shingo. It's just this match at some points. I'm thinking it's a good concept, but I didn't like how the falls went so quickly after each other. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I again from that standpoint, I can understand it. Honestly, just for the sheer uniqueness of it all. The thing is, see, this is another thing, by the way. And you say you come up with an overall point about Shingo, but you're also getting him while he's carrying a belt that makes you have to do some of the most insane stuff possible. Like, think about what you just watched. You just watched a match that was like literally, it wasn't 2 out of 3 falls or anything like that you're used to. It was literally 3, like basically 6 matches in one almost.
No, it really was. Yeah.
So it's just insane what they asked Shingo to do, and that's because they pretty much trust the fact that if you let Shingo get in there and do his style with almost anyone, it's gonna do great. And again, I understand, like I said, the length of the match. That's probably the only thing I hated of it. It was really, really, really lengthy. But they beat the hell out of each other the entire 35 minutes. And it's just like when you watch people do that, it's hard for me not to have a newfound respect for Hanare, someone, again, like I said, not usually in this spot, finally getting a chance to be in that spot. And like, again, this is if you go off Meltzer loved it. He gave this a really high rating. And now Hanare's name is actually getting. I've never seen that many people talk about Hanare, honestly. So again, I had to at least say we mentioned it because it not only was on the road to Genesis, but I also wanted to tip my cap to him because, again, he worked hard to get there, and I know I'm a sucker for Shingo's style. So if you didn't like it as much as I did, I understand it, but. Again, credit to those guys for beating the hell out of each other for 40 minutes.
April 3rd, we had Sanada and Taichi versus the Dream Team Okada and Tanahashi. Sanada beat up Okada while Tanahashi just rolled up Taichi in the middle of the ring to get the pin. It sets the stage for Saturday. And then we had Strong Style versus House of Torture, Never Openweight 6-man tag team rematch. Evil hid in the crowd, which is something from Delirious if you go back in the day. Ren showing more aggression. It was like As soon as Despy got the win for his team, it was like a battleground afterwards, with all just six laying around. But the question is, did Ren really call out Okada? I mean, are you kidding me with that?
Yes, he is. He never will forget what those two old heads did to him and Shota Umino in that match when it was the Legends versus the Future. He took it personal. Yes, he is 100% serious. And just to make it even more serious, after Sakura Genesis, he found Okada backstage and he told him again right after Okada's match. He walked up to his face and said it again. We're gonna have our date. So Okada, you should have seen Okada tired as I don't know what. It's just like, yeah, whatever, sure, whatever. Get out my face.
We'll say as well, done.
Ren is very serious.
Right, no. Well done at home if you're playing the House of Torture drinking game. I tried it once and blacked out within 5 minutes, woke up the next day. So we'll move on then, April 8th, and this is why we're here, Sakura Genesis. And we start with the Shinichi Champion Grand Prix celebration, 6-man tag match. I didn't have a fucking clue what was going on, but I didn't care.
Me neither.
We had Tori Greater Khan, and Minoru Suzuki defeating Hiroshi Tanahashi, Yo, and El Desperado. And for someone who was trying to get used to groups and kind of partnerships in New Japan.
Oh, yeah, I know this confused the hell out of you.
This confused his shit out of me. The oddball lineup was part of the stipulation. Faction mates stood apart from one another while partnering. Suzuki and Desperado started the match and had a sportsmanlike back and forth. That was the end of the normalcy, however, as the struggle for tag broke out. Neither team wanted to engage in tags. Khan and Yo were left to fight each other for some time. Tanahashi eventually forced himself in the fray, taking momentum. Khan grew desperate for a tag, but his partners refused to engage. Yano tagged into the match after much debate, and Khan and Suzuki were left to fight each other. Poor Yano was left in a 3-on-1 situation, but he took advantage of the dysfunction. Yo slapped his partner Desperado, and that followed, Yano hit Tanahashi with a low blow and rolled him up to win the match. That's right, Toru Yano pinning Tanahashi. I mean, come on.
Insane.
We'll say first, before I get your thoughts on this, the crowd singing and looking packed out. It was great with the entrances. I thought it was a great way to start.
Oh, yeah.
Even Kevin flirting with a TVSI woman, I thought it was fine. Yano did make me laugh, but pinning Tanahashi, really?
Well, see, again, at first I would have took it that way, but like I understood that after they explained that this is the ring announcers doing, they blamed it all on that poor woman that she selected these teams this way. So that Yano is on his knees crying when he finds out Suzuki is one of his partners, because Suzuki torments Yano every time they fight. Khan hates Yano. So again, you get that team. Yo and Despy could not work together for nothing because Despy just don't like anybody that's not Suzuki or Kanemaru. So, or I don't even know if he like his brother Donkey that much, honestly. Despy is just that type of guy. But just so so dysfunctional is what this was. Tanahashi tried desperately to have his team work together, and Yo just decided everything was slow. They was second guessing everything Tanahashi was asking them to do. Yo slapped the taste out of Despy's mouth, by the way, unprovoked, and I just don't know how he thought that was gonna go. Because that was the beginning of the end for them. So again, the fact that this match was so funny and it just wasn't meant to be taken seriously at all is the reason why it makes sense that Yano would win, because it's nonsense from the beginning, and Yano is the king of nonsense. So that's exactly what this is. Again, it's nothing to take seriously. I thought it was a fun way to kick stuff off just because of the mind fuck, I guess it was. But it was great. It was great.
It was very, very entertaining. We then had United Empire, Aaron Henare, Francisco Kira, and Jeff Cobb defeating House of Torture, Evil Show, and Takahashi. Show distracted his wrench, giving Dick the opportunity to hit the ring with his cord, while being choked by Togo. Cobb stood up, grabbed Show, and dropped him to the tour of the islands with Togo on his back. Cobb pinned Shaw. I mean, what a fucking finish that looked like.
So great.
After the match, Akira accepted Kushida and Kevin Knight's challenge for the junior tag titles. I don't understand. Kushida's challenging for the Impact World title over in America, but in Japan, it's like he can't catch a break. And I got it. Aaron Hanara looks like a jacked primo. I saw it in this match. That's what I thought. I thought, do you know what? He really does.
That's fair. Fair play. Fair play. By the way, that match, I think, for Kevin Knight in the DKC, I think that will be on April 27th. So, yeah, it's set up now. It has a date. It didn't have a date when this was done. So.
Like I said, you're going to have to send me... we're going to do a show in 2 months' time. You'll have to do the same in 2 months. We then have just 5 guys. Dookie, Taichi, and Kanemaru defeating Bushi, Shingo, and Naito, of course, LIJ. Naito started the match quickly by rushing Dookie. LIJ fought what felt like a personal animosity, leading to an extended sequence of control. After double tag, Taichi and Shingo traded heavy blows. Bushi continued to keep up the fight as tagging into handle, but Kanemaru was able to turn things round, securing a figure 4 leg lock in the centre of the ring as the rest of LIJ tried to make the save. Just 5 guys caught them in other holds, protecting Bushi long enough for him to secure the win, or hitting the finisher of him. After the bell, Dookie held Naito in the Doki Choki. I call him Dookie. It's Doki. It's a Doki Choki. How can you forget
Doki
that?
Choki.
Doki Choki. And for an extended period, forcing him the crew to break the whole Doki. Later would challenge Naito to singles matches. Are they trying to create like the weirdest looking card ever? They have like Narita and Okada.
They're changing things.
Naito, like this was all about five.
Things, man.
This was all about 5 guys, man. The 3 went over so strong here, you know.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what this is all about, man. They've been adamant. Their thing is they're going to change things in New Japan. Like I said, a group of, seemingly, if you go off what they've done in their career so far, a group of losers. Honestly, Nobu is probably Nobu and Sonata by themselves are the most successful guy. And I know Taichi just came off a tag team run with ZSJ, but that was pretty much the most success he had in New Japan up to that point. And Nobu has been a junior tag champion with Despy in the past, so he's probably the most successful. But again, they're a team of pretty much losers at this point in their career. Like with Taka at this point is a loser in New Japan at this point in his career. So again, to show everyone that they mean business like this, with, like you said, Doki, getting a shot at Naito, a match that he was never close enough to get, but they have a history all the way dating all the way back into Mexico, because Naito spent, as you can tell by his factory name, spent a big chunk of time in Mexico, just like Doki did. So they have history. So again, a unique matchup, but it does have a story that they can latch on to. And then with Taichi heading towards Shingo for the KOPW crown, again, everything just kind of falls into place and it makes sense. I'm assuming Naito and Doki will end up on Wrestling Dontaku, but I'm not sure. But anyway, I know Shingo and Taichi is already set up also. So again, they're definitely heading towards that. But yeah, this was just another way for 5 guys to continue to make their statement. And then on a night like this, on Sonata's biggest night, 5 guys, holding down their part of the bargain like that, it really had me ready for what was coming on later in the show.
Yeah, they really put them over strong, and it kind of made you stand up and take notes and think, shit, they're actually going to go with them. And it's weird because I think we were joking when Taka announced the group, so now you think about how actually serious they should be taken. We get Bullet Club, David Finlay, El Phantasmo, and Kenta defeating Hikuleu, Tamatonga, and Master Watto. Bullet Club drama will never end, 10 years after the faction's creation, still dealing with the kind of splinter groups and betrayals. Before the match could begin, ELP and Finlay had a bit of a squabble, and Finlay, being the ultimate heel, taking the hat off the kid. But I tell you what I love about wrestling, Monty, more than anything, is the moment ELP turns to that kid, gave him the shirt, and then said, "Don't say anything," because that kid now has had we'll never forget that moment. It really won't.
Yeah.
Once the bout started, the Bayface squad was quick to take control, but the Bullet Club trio eventually took the lead. as ELP and Finley continued to argue. They traded, like you said, tags that were closest to chops, leading to a rally from the faces. Even though the dysfunction, ELP was able to drop Watto with a sudden death and a CR2. But once the match concluded, Finley dropped Tama with the Never Championship. As Finley beat down Tama, ELP tried to pull him off, and Finley dropped ELP with a forearm, leading to a strike exchange. And then we see Kenta at this point. I will say, Kenta deserves an Oscar. He's a peacemaker and trying to stop everything from happening. And all of a sudden, picking up ELP and dropping him with a GTS. Kento and Gedo presented ELP to Finley, who was wielding a shillelagh. We see Ishimori hit the ring to look maybe an apparent save for his best mate, but instead dropped ELP with a low blow, and then Finley did the shillelagh, dissolving the world's cutest tag team, and ELP's involvement in Bullet Club proper. This was great all round. I even like the comment of Kevin Kelly getting upset and saying, ELP, he was the arsehole that we liked. You
know? Right. He's our asshole. Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what he's become. Like, again, he hasn't really changed his antics. He still can be a douche when he wants to be, but the people have definitely just, again, you can tell, you heard that crowd. Again, Sakura Genesis, again, I'm going to talk about it. I haven't really mentioned it yet so far, but this was just one of the best crowds, just a great way to reintroduce crowds for New Japan fans for us, because again, I think a lot of us have missed that energy, and you can feel it here, especially in this segment once ELP finally kind of rose up. And even when Taiji made the save, it seemed like the crowd was really looking for Taiji to actually save him. But again, we saw it, the writing was on the wall. I know Taiji Ishimori too well. He enjoys being evil too much. So when he ran out there, I wasn't really surprised that he was going to join in on it, because I just know Taiji so well at this point. But yeah, man, Kenta kind of shocked me because he's been kind of goofy for a while. Like, so it's kind of crazy that he was very supportive of where Finley wants to go. But at the end, it makes sense. The club usually, they always, they're gonna find a leader and someone to latch on to. And honestly, ELP wasn't made the leader once Jay was not announced. So it kind of showed you that he wasn't the guy that they wanted to put in that spot. And here we go with Finley here. So again, with all the problems that they had all tour, it culminated here in this moment. And honestly, with the stuff, I know I'm kind of merging wrestling lines here, but with Jay and Juice Robinson's Bullet Club Gold announcement, it really made me start thinking about Forbidden Door with kind of like a Bullet Club Civil War, possibly. I don't know if they're able to book that, but it's definitely something that seems to be going on, because Finley has already said that he's tired of people using his club's logo and, still walking. He couldn't believe that Jay White showed up still wearing Bullet Club stuff like he's part of it or something. So, again, this is a very, very deep thing, but I think this was time. It's time for ELP. I don't know if it's still going to be in Japan. If it's in Japan, his future is going to be bright in Japan no matter what he does next, because I said they love him. If it's ELP goes to AEW now to join Bullet Club Gold or whatever, I don't know. It really makes me wonder what's next for ELP, what's next for him, because, again, I think he's gained so much in this entire feud in Bullet Club. Like, Finley has gained a new character and the Bullet Club spot, while ELP has gained like an appreciation and a love from a lot of people in Japan. And I just think, again, they can go whichever way they want to, honestly, when it comes to ELP now. But it's very interesting times, man. Bullet Club is a mess, but an interesting mess, It's a very interesting mess.
I would say it's interesting to see what happens here. Up next, the IWGP Women's Championship. Mercedes Moné defeating Hazuki and Azumi. The match opened with a fantastic triangle sequence, leaving all women on equal footing. Azumi and Moné made an on-the-fly agreement to write off Hazuki, but it said Hazuki couldn't control both her opponents. We see a brief sequence. The match turned to a series of dives. From here, the trio traded tandem submissions and quick pin attempts, never leaving out a competitor for long. Moné eventually landed a pair of code breakers and a Meteora for a near fall over Azumi, but she scored a near fall of her own with a quick trapping pin. Hazuki fought back into the match with an explosive set of strikes. Hazuki tried to close with a brainbuster, but Azumi hit the ring to interrupt instead of skewing a pin, as she had hoped. Azumi was caught by Monet. Monet dropped Azumi onto Hazuki with the money, winning the match and retaining her belt. After the match, Mayu Iwatani walked to the ring to challenge Monet for the women's title. Monet answered with a slap to her face. Monet's first match in Japan. Monty, what did you think? I thought all three were on point there.
Yeah, I agree 100%, man. They killed it, man. Azumi, I was familiar with her speed and her talent, being just 20 years old, her young age. She's been raved about by many Stardom fans all over the web and all of that for a while now. So, I was kind of familiar with her high-speed championship reign, and she's just all about speed. She's a flash pin master. And then Hazuki, this is my first time kind of watching her. So, again, I was kind of learning more about her, but she kind of snuck her way into this match with her performance in a recent match that she had with Azumi. And also in this match, I thought she just fit in really, really well. The format and the pace that they worked at were really, really good. We were in for a treat. I think Chris and Kevin did a really good job giving us background information about Azumi and Hazuki, helping you understand their style if you were unfamiliar with them. And again, like you said, it was unbelievable stuff from all three in this match. The timing was on point for the most part. The selling was great to me. It had everything. And honestly, with Mercedes winning and the way she won was also done. Was perfectly done. But honestly, again, I said this for all the Stardom matches that's been on New Japan card, but they've done a really good job of showcasing what Stardom or what Joshi wrestling is all about. So we all were winners when you think about the result. And then after the match, having the icon of Stardom, Mayu Iwatani, challenging Mercedes, again, setting up Yokohama for a Stardom event that, by the way, is happening. I guess it will be tonight. So it's April 23rd. So again, it's setting up in Japan. It's gonna be probably in the wee hours of my morning. I don't know with the time for you guys, but either way it goes, Stardom having a big event. We got Icon versus Living Legend. So just a match that honestly, I don't know if I ever thought I would see it as someone who's always kind of been a fan of Mayu Iwatani from a distance, to see her in the ring with someone like Mercedes or Sasha or however you want to say it, and to watch them in a Stardom ring for that title is going to be a great time. So this was just perfect. Mercedes just keeps knocking it out of the park. She's a great ambassador for what she's trying to do for women's wrestling in New Japan, because again, this was not a thing, not even a match. So again, for her to have this type of quality already in IWGP Women's reign, this type of quality when it comes to the matches and just what she's done so far already, it's just amazing. And she's only getting started, so she says. So I cannot wait to see what else she does. But this was another exciting chapter in the career of Mercedes Moné.
Yeah, I think the only thing that caused Monet any trouble was her train in the entrance. I think apart from that, she looked like a duck to water. Like I said, all three on point. Izumi with a fly and the elbows by Izuki. Like I said, Izumi as well, like 10-year veteran, been 20 years old. Like started at 10.
Right, 20 years old.
We're too old.
Insanely good already.
Exactly. Great match. Yeah. Really opened my eyes to kind of women's wrestling in Japan. It's, like I said, we'll talk more about Stardom after Genesis as well. But we're going to get a new talent coming to New Japan Pro Wrestling. The vignette featured a flying object headed for Japan before crashing down. Boots the scene, walking in front of a fire before Wolf opened his eyes. The vignette ends with a message, coming soon. Monty, any clues at all?
Yeah, I have. Honestly, I'm out of it. I'm like, either like maybe I was thinking of Clark Connors or someone. I don't know. Like, I was trying to think of like foreign people who could be coming to Japan, but I really don't know. I'm just like you guys. We'll see. We'll find out together.
That's a shame. I thought you had more.
No, I have no extra content.
No. That'd be fine.
They did a really good tease.
Yeah. Well, we move on. New Japan Pro Wrestling, obviously. The World Television Championship. Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Shota Umino. The match opened with a series of quick pin attempts. After the opening pin exchange, things calmed down a little bit, with both men trading uppercuts. Some intensity for Umino, It allowed him to gain a lead, which he used to work the leg. Zack Sabre caught Shota with an armbar that forced him to the ropes, and he continued to work on the arm, allowing Zack to retake the lead after Shota began to rally. After escaping a brutal armbar, Shota attempted another rally with various quick pings, a swinging DDT, and a Death Rider scored Shota a convincing near fall late in the match. As he tried for another Death Rider, Zack reversed into a pin, winning the match. I tell you something, Zack is not only hilarious because he had at the start a shiny jacket for Shooter. He said he's not going to take the piss, but here's a shiny jacket. Oh, look at the shine.
Ooh, shiny.
Who's shine? But for a guy like that, like, he even said to Kevin Kelly afterwards, like, that's what it's like being one of the best technical wrestlers on the planet. Seeing these two clash, I mean, Shooter's going to be the guy in a few years. We said that. And I loved them running each other when the bell rang. Everything about this match I really enjoyed. Even the 15-minute time limit, you know?
Right, and again, and that's the element. Like I said, that was the important element. You know, Shota beat him, and like I mentioned, in like 30 minutes pretty much. But in this situation, it was all about, could Shota do it again, but this time in 15 minutes, you know? And that's going to be that's the challenge when you're dealing with Zack Sabre Jr. You know, you can beat him maybe if you get time, but in that time frame, can you beat him? Because it's not even about whether or not can he beat you a lot of the times. It's just like, can you defeat him in 15 minutes? And like you said, his style just fits it very, very perfect. When time started running short, you know, it had all of us on edge, and like, again, like you said, to me, honestly, and like I said, I'm probably going to get pushed back, and I really don't care because I feel like I got enough of footage and a track record. To me, I don't think there's anyone better. Like, I love Bryan Danielson. He's probably the only other person I could even think of in this same light. But Zack, to me, is the best wrestler in the world, and it's just it's because of, like, especially in this format, he shines so brightly in this format because anyone could do a 15-minute time limit. And I think, but like, can anyone do it like this and make it one of the most compelling matches on the card almost every time? Just insert the opponent almost. And Zack can find a way to make it one of the most compelling 15-minute matches you've ever seen. And like, it's a reason why these matches are free. It's a reason why you don't have to go to the website. You can just go to YouTube and watch Zack Sabre Jr.'s TV championship matches. Because this is a great way to sell anyone on New Japan's brand of wrestling. Like, just watching Zack Sabre Jr. can easily make you fall in love with New Japan. And that's exactly what he does here. And like you said, he won this match. Like you said, best technical wrestler in the world, like you said. And he still put Shota over somehow. Like, he won it decisively, but Shota won also. It's just in 15 minutes. It was great. I love this.
It really is. And like I said, it's so exciting with the time running out. And it shows how important these two are, being on the card instead of, like, Tama defending or something like this. You know, like I said, the biggest event they put these two guys on show. The closest I can think coming to it, and again, I know I'm going to get a lot of shit for this, but Noam Dar as the Heritage Cup champion, when the time is elapsing to have that match. And I'll tell you something, a dream match for me would be Dar versus Zack Sabre Jr.
Zack, oh my goodness.
I mean, Heritage Cup and TV
catch wrestling in that one.
But do you know what's crazy? And this is how old and how long I've been doing this pod. Is that we have reviewed that match on this podcast, because September 7th, 2016, the Cruiserweight Classic quarterfinal. It was my pick, Zack Sabre Jr., taken on my pick, Noam Dar. So if anybody wants to see that, go on the WWE Network, because it actually has happened. But nowadays, it would be a different level, you know?
Oh, yeah, man. They would, just give exactly 15 minutes. Noam Dar and Zack. Like, I'm fantasy booking it now. But that's my point. You can insert any of the best wrestlers that you think of around the world and put them in that format with Zack, and just, like, imagine him in Seth Rollins. Imagine him in some of the other great workers that we throw, Gargano or something like that. Like, he could just, it would be special. Just insert name next to Zack. That's how good Zack is.
And the respect after, like I said, really, really good stuff. And then WGP Tag Team Championship, Aussie Open, Carl Fletcher, Mark Davis defeated Bishamon, Hiroki Goto, and Yoshihashi. Aussie Open started the match by isolating Yoshihashi. Goto tagged in. Aussie opened up the stakes to maintain the control. landing huge dives to the outside, whereas Mark Davis's dive was all right. Carl Fletcher, in probably one of the sickest bumps that I have seen, bounced off the kind of blue barricade as it was, and immediately bleeding, having to have a head wrap as well to continue on. Fletcher and Davis kept on the same page, and luckily managed to have not that much of effect on the matchup. Got it tagged in, he began to turn things around, sending Davis to the floor. He dropped Fletcher with a lariat and a back drop. It seemed every time Fletcher would take a move, I was wincing at this point. Fletcher escaped, but Goto persisted, dropping Fletcher with GYW to make the save. Another save from Davis allowed Fletcher to score near full to clear the ring of Yoshihashi. Aussie Open hit a double lariat, and at this point as well, and again, the crowd here were on their feet cheering for Aussie Open. They were ready for this. You know, I'm thinking Bishamon were quite popular. They're not right here. Like I said, whether it will be due to what happened to Fletcher showing that fighting spirit, or just Mark Davis with his run, they see a follow-up sandwich and lariat to Goto, and the Correaris was able to close out the match for Aussie Open, and your new IWG Tag Team Champions, Aussie Open. And I'll tell you what, this time last year, I didn't know this team properly. What a privilege it is to see their journey, whether it be FTR, whether it was. Credit Bishamon. Right. This was fantastic, wasn't it? You know, come on. I know I love my tag team wrestling. I know I love Pretty Deadly. I know I love Usos and stuff like that. But this was, again, another different level.
Bro, man, this was insane. Like I said, after the New Japan Cup and leading into this, Aussie Open was really, like, honestly, I was like, give them the world. I don't care. Do whatever you have to do. They are too damn good. Just let them represent New Japan as the best, one of the best tag teams. And yeah, this, like you said, just another showcase of just how special they are. And, you know, like you said, they're just undeniable. I think Kevin Kelly said it a couple of times. They are, and that's a great explanation for what Aussie Open brings to the table. They're just undeniably good. And it was just a banger, man. This is like what, like, you know, Sheamus's catchphrase. This is the definition of it. You know, Aussie Open, honestly, this is their greatest match to me, or at least right up there with FTR, honestly, because, like, again, they had Ryu Goku chanting Aussie Open, like you mentioned, and they were on fire, and deservingly so, man. It was so physical. Like you said, that's that bump. I want to get back to that. That's the thing about New Japan. By the way, it's the same. Their tables and their barricades. It's not, and the floor. There's no protection. This is not like even WWE. I'm not, even the padding that they put down on stuff like that doesn't really protect you as much as would lead you to believe. But there's way more padding on those floors and all that in WWE than it is what you see in Japan. Like, that is legit hardwood floor. That is legit barricade. So yeah, man, I really was happy that he found a way to finish that match and be okay. And again, honestly, like you said, Bishamon was popular, and it was also good here too. But it was just, it didn't really matter. Aussie Open was just too much for the former champs here, and to have that crowd, to have all of us, like anyone, like me watching, losing my bleeping mind, also watching it. And guess what? They hammered it home even better, because by the end of it, they said 15 minutes. So that they crafted a special, like, instant classic level tag match to me in less than 15 minutes, pretty much, because it wrapped up in about 15 minutes. So yeah, this was just really, really good. I like you said, I put instant classic down. I can't say enough about it. Aussie Open is great.
There's an expression in wrestling, I'm going to talk about it in a bit, but it's like, it's blood, sweat, and tears. And this match had it all, because I didn't even mention the kind of emotion from Kyle, you know, the embrace between Kyle and Mark, showing how much it means to get to the top of the mountain, irrespective if they lose the titles in a month or so, whether it was. At this moment, the crowd wanted it. The people at home wanted it, and you could see what it meant. And there was a lovely moment between Kevin Kelly and Carl Fletcher as well at the end, because you got to remember, these guys are traveling. You know, like we talk about back in the day, you know, tours of Japan. These guys are traveling to Japan and staying there for a couple of months doing a tour and home. So especially when Cole Fletcher is 23, 24, a young guy, Kevin Kelly, who's been doing this business a long time, you know, especially when he speaks the language, will be a support system. And I just love that doesn't get spoken enough, you know, when it comes to this kind of, because it is like this romance of Japanese wrestling, because when you're there, you're all in to it, aren't you? You know, and I think that's what we saw here with the connection between Aussie Open, the crowd, the commentary, and everything going on. It was, if you haven't seen any of these matches, this is a match to go and watch. You know, because like
Definitely.
I said, the amount of good tag teams there are, Monty, as we've spoken about, where it will be NXT, WWE, AEW. It's a wonderful time to be fan of tag team wrestling. I don't think, not since, you know, and I'm not an old to remember, but you know, the mid '80s, did we have this kind of plethora of great teams that we have now, you know?
Yeah, man. And like you said, it's just great teams. We have teams in like that, you know, who are in these spots too, like our Aussie Open, like you said, just on the cusp, building something. But I think that's the thing. I think it's the dedication to building the tag teams and making it feel important. And I think that's what we see a lot now of, or we're starting to see more, even with FTR, you know, now that they've finally got over the guns in that situation, we possibly can get Aussie Open FTR maybe here at Forbidden Door too.
Yeah.
I would be down with that, you know, for them to match up one more time, right? You know, and you know, of course, like we mentioned the Usos and all the great stuff they do. We have Sammy and Kevin in the tag division now. You know, two great individuals, but they fit right in the division. You know, of course, what the New Day has been able to do over the years. You know, we could just go down the list of just quality, top-notch teams that you know that you can just put them in the ring. I mean, hell, even all the way down to like Imperium, who are managing for the most part now. Like, you know, you can get a really good match. Like, I can put those two guys in the ring with some of these teams too. Like, imagine Imperium versus Aussie Open or the Grizzled Young Vets.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
Like, Legado, you know, like
you said,
Legado,
exactly. Like, we are spoiled. Like, you make a really good point.
We'll move on though to the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. A co-main. I was surprised this is a co-main, but then again, Monty, I'm still new to Japan, and with the amount of titles, my assumption is the junior heavyweight is second to just the
Hiromu was a big deal.
Yeah, right.
Let's just say it that way, because I don't know if Hiromu, I don't know if he's not the champion. He's there. I don't know if that match is there if he's not the champion. That's how big he is at this point.
Well, Hiromu Takahashi did defeat Robbie Eagles. The opening sequence saw Hiromu bait Eagles to the floor. Hiromu tried a sunset flip bomb, but bad knee gave out, opening to be target attack. I tell you how good Hiromu's selling was. He even sold later on in the night. That's how good it was. Eagles' attack on the leg was focused and relentless, using strikes, holds, and his environment to put Hiromu through the ringer. But Hiromu eventually rallied, started with victory. Right after minutes of agony, back and forth suplexes led to a slam in the corner and a time bomb for a near fall. And the counter that forced the pair into the corner ended with an incredible Poison Rana. And I tell you what, I'm not a fan of Robbie Eagles, but when he hit that Poison Rana, it looked like it spiked Hiromu. It was unbelievable. And we see a 450 to Hiromu's knee after landing a splash. Eagles locked in the Rob Miller special. Hiromu barely escaped. After a brief pause, he was able to land a dynamite plunger and a time bomb 2 to win the match. And again, not a huge fan of Robbie Eagles. Hiromu, I love his ring jacket. This did feel a little long to me, and I'm not sure the crowd was as into it as the previous 3 matches. I might be wrong, though, because like I said, there was still a lot of wrestling going on. Zach was there helping his boy, which I liked. But, I mean, what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, you know, it was a war, you know, and something that Hiromu bears about. Hiromu has a goal right now. He wants to get the 12. He wants to break the junior heavyweight title and get those 12 defenses. And this will make his 3rd. And I just want to say, if every defense is going to be like that one, he might not make it because, he took the beating of a lifetime. And I think the fact that he was getting beat for so long, that kind of sucked that energy out of the crowd, who was just over the moon with the result right before this. So I do agree. It was definitely one of those longer. It took a longer time to develop type of match. But again, I don't have a problem with Robbie Eagles. Like, there's one thing I know about Robbie is that he's going to go for the Ron Miller special, and I think that if you don't like just watching somebody spam move towards the leg and try to, like, that's one thing I say. He tried to make sure, I almost didn't want Hiromu to walk again. That's pretty much what he was going for here. But Hiromu prevailing. I think that's another thing too. I think since everyone kind of is along the ride, a lot of people in Japan are along for the ride when it comes to Hiromu's reign at this point. Because again, all 4 prior reigns to this reign, Hiromu was robbed of being able to give it a long shot, whether it was because he lost to Robbie Eagles, whether it was injury. It was always something. So I think a lot of us are in for the long haul when it comes to Hiromu's run, and that may also take a little bit of the life out of it by comparison to having that result for Aussie Open or Mercedes' match also. So again, that's just my take on it. I didn't have a problem with it. I enjoyed it because, like you said, Hiromu, his selling. I'm not gonna say he's Dragunov level, but he's not too far. But he's not too far from where Dragunov is when it comes to making you feel like he's dying or going to die in the ring. So, yeah.
Dragunov, even mention him, I just picture how can a wrestler look like he's dying?
Right. Like everything that happens to Dragunov, I'm just like, yeah, I don't know, man. Is he shooting with me? You always. It's like, damn. That was a rough one, but this is still a strong match. But like you said, I think this is all about Hiromu's star power and survivability. Is the reason why it was placed here.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Like, even with the crowd seemed quite smart. So what surprised me was in the tag match they wanted Aussie Open to win. They wanted changes, and they probably knew in this one it wasn't going to happen. But I still enjoyed the story because this is what surprised me in the main event. Where I thought, Okada. The crowd were all Sanada without a shadow of a doubt. So we did have in the main event Sanada versus Kazuchika Okada for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. The match began quite normal with typical collar and elbow tie-up. As the match continued, though, it soon worked its way to the floor. Sanada dropped Okada on the concrete with a barricade-assisted DDT, but back outside, we see Okada fighting back and leaving Sanada with a DDT. So, I mean, you talked about earlier, the splat on the concrete floor from the DDT kind of gives it away. A little bit, that's not a lot of padding there. We see Okada with a drop kick. The match wanted back outside, leading to Sanada's dive. Okada blocked Sanada's moonsault attempt, extending his knees. We see him lead to a pair of lariats and a money clip. And this is, again, what commentary did really well of Kevin Kelly saying that the money clip's there because Okada doesn't even treat Sanada on his level, so he's going to beat him with his B finisher. Which, again, you see that in wrestling, and you don't really think of it elsewhere. Do you know what I mean? Because, like you said, other wrestlers, it's like Seth Rollins winning with a pedigree. You go, well, I completely understand that now. But we see Sanada Okada to a strike exchange. I should say early on in the match, what I really liked and set the sail was Okada not giving the break on the ropes and hitting him with the strike, leaning into, the dark hat, the black hat was there and he was leaning into it with Sanada, breaks cleaning and everything like this. Sanada reversed the Rainmaker into a cutter and a pair of moonsaults for a near fall. Okada tried for a landslide, but Sanada turned it to a choke. After dropping Okada, Sanada landed a Shining Wizard, but failed to follow up. Again, great throwback to great moves. Even I got that one, Monty. You see?
Right.
Even I was like, there we go. Once he escaped another finish, Okada tried again for the Rainmaker. This time, though, and a great reversal. Sanada reversed the Rainmaker into the deadfall, landing his new swinging DDT variation, which he won every match in a New Japan Cup with. Will it keep Okada down? It was Sanada is your new IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, and it's a brand new landscape. Monty, what are your thoughts?
Man, again, coming into this match, like I told you guys how long it's been a journey for Sanada, but I just thought at the end of the day, he had to win. all those changes, leaving LIJ, everything else he said about truly changing, for all that to come true, he had to pull it off. And again, losing to his rival here would just would feel like nothing changed, nothing was enough. So from the entrances, just from his new look, the new gear, again, with going to short trunks for the first time in his career, like he's been a long pants guy for the most part. You just tell that tonight or that night, Sakura Genesis was going to be different. And again, that crowd was, like you said, 100% on Sonata's side. You could tell everyone wanted this to be the night that Sonata was crowned. Again, I've seen pretty much all the encounters he's had with Okada, and I was so proud watching his progression. And again, Okada was the aggressor, and not definitely, like you said, clearly not who the fans want. Like usually, no matter what type of challenger he faces, whether it's been Naito over the years, Ibushi, who they love, even Tanahashi is a section of the people who just love Okada no matter what. But like you said, you could not tell in this situation. Everyone wanted Sonata to have his moment. And, I was just glued to every move, I thought Okada had it won because, again, Okada's one of those guys that until he loses, you truly don't believe he's going to lose. So it really didn't matter what Sonata would do. I still thought Okada had a chance of getting out of it, but Sonata just would not be denied. That final sequence was perfect because when he finally landed the deadfall, it just confirmed that was the move he made to beat Okada. Like, yes, it helped him get through this tournament, and it was the thing that took him to the next level against Naito and Finlay. But no, that move, the way it was perfectly seemed right, just perfect, a perfect reversal for the Rainmaker, just lets you know that this was that deadfall is his, the thing he made to get to this moment. And again, I was just so pleasantly surprised. Like literally, I woke my wife up at the time that morning with my shock. Like, he actually did it. Like, no, for real. I couldn't believe it. Just like, because again, I still was like, you know what? Oh, he still might lose. It'll still be, he got a new character. He still got a direction he can go going after this versus LIJ. He don't have to win the championship. I had convinced myself that Okada would retain during the match. But watching him do it, I was just so happy that, you know what? This is great. And he finally lived up to that potential that I saw many years ago, just in tag division. And again, a new star is born. That's what I came away with. I just like, you know what? They've done it. He looked marketable. He's walking around in his suits. And again, looking so cleaned up, the opposite of the homeless Sonata.
Yeah.
that he's come off as in the past. Like, again, he just looked like the guy. And like, it was perfect. It just ended up being perfect. And I was so proud of Sonata to finally get that moment. And like you said, Tachi, like the fanboy that he is, was right there for every moment.
This is the thing.
Ready for him to be crowned.
This is the thing about it said with Sonata. Like, I can get into this now. Because you think like, oh, he's not going to survive a Rainmaker, and that's how they play into it. With the fact that when he hits his finisher as well, you go, oh shit, actually he gets the job done. Okada doesn't need the title. Like you said,
nope.
Like, he's such a big star. But he probably will be champ again and probably headline Wrestle Kingdom next year. But it's not,
right.
Like you said, this is make or break for Sonata. Not since JBL, I don't think, has this happened to a wrestler in such a way.
Yeah.
Like I said, they've... What I will say, though, and again, this is not taking anything away from Sonata. This is not taking away... We've talked about the, Jay White leaving and, kind of what impact that would have. I wonder what would have happened if Jonah had signed with New Japan, Like...
Yeah, a great argument can be made that would have been him in this spot. You can make the argument because honestly, if he would have signed on, that's the move to make, honestly, because he's a big, evil, foreign, big menace, perfect threat to Okada and guys like Sonata alike. So, yeah, it's true. With Jay White not being there and Jonah, was this something always in the cards? But that's the thing about Gatos or the way that they book in New Japan that I really always like. You always just one or two, story shifts away or faction shifts away from the entire deck being shuffled. Similar to what happened when Naito joined in LIJ and took the world title. He was a guy in Hontai who was not a world champion, and he became what he is now because they shuffled the deck.
Well,
so it happens.
I was about to say, you think how much New Japan has changed, even in since Wrestle Kingdom. You know, when you think about the groups and the kind of now Sonata, people turn and go, "What is this? The guy with bleached blonde hair?" This is completely different. And during Sonata's victory speech, Hiromu walked to the ring. He congratulates Sonata for his win, for challenging for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. But Kanemaru asked Hiromu for a junior title shot before Hiromu got a chance to challenge for the heavyweight title. Sonata closed the show with a promo after telling Hiromu to politely, if you wouldn't mind,
please leave.
Which again is always nice. Sonata closed the show with a promo and a shower of confetti. Just 5 guys have arrived. So we look at overall quickly. Match of the night for me is tag titles all way long because blood, sweat, and tears. But again, there were so many. It was all fun, I would say. I don't think there was a match apart from maybe the junior heavyweight where I felt it a little bit long. I enjoy, and again, it's even the breaks after the match straight into the next one. Because I have some, even if it's 4.5 hour card, you think, oh, what they're going to do, and it was just really, really good into another. MVP of the night for me, it's got to be Sonata, hasn't it? So, who's your MVP? What's your match, and what's your rating for Genesis out of 10?
Yeah, like you said, it's really up there. Just to be different from you because honestly, let me look from basically from ELP being turned on down. I was just in heaven. So I'm gonna give them, just to be different. I'm gonna give my match to Mercedes.
Yeah,
in the crew. I'm gonna give them the match, and then my MVP for the night. Of course, I agree, Sonata. Like I said, to overcome what he's overcome, to be who he is now, and to look like the guy as much as he does now. Again, I really can't say enough with how great they did in this tournament of just building someone up, because now that he's beaten Okada, now that he's become champion, no matter what, from now on, like they kept making this point. And as someone who loved Hiroki Goto, who by the way just celebrated his 20th anniversary as a wrestler today actually, so shout out to Hiroki Goto, one of my favorites of all time. But they kept saying that if Sonata lost that match, he would be Hiroki Goto, which is, like I said, someone who was not to become the world champion. But I'm like, come on, man, he's like a Hall of Famer. He's not done anything except that. That's the only thing he couldn't do is win the world titles. Chill out on Goto. But again, that's the point. That's how important this was for Sonata. So again, he has to be my MVP. And my overall rating for the show, again, I don't want to overrate it because of how much this means to me from a sentimental standpoint. But I'm going to give it around a good 9. Like you said, really good time the entire time. I didn't have a problem with anything that happened on it because this was the closest that I've been to pre-pandemic New Japan 2019, 2018. Some of the best stuff that they've been doing, because people forget, because of how much of an impact the pandemic had on New Japan, just how much of a meteoric rise New Japan was on, pre-2019 and all that stuff and everything that happened. So this really had a lot of New Japan fans saying collectively that New Japan is back. This is what New Japan is all about. And this is the reason why I wanted us to review it, because even though we've been covering New Japan and you guys have became fans and you're still learning and picking up things, I really thought this show was a great example. Wrestle Kingdom was awesome. It was a nice first step back out there post-pandemic for New Japan. But this show, Sakura Genesis, is the show that really felt like from beginning to end what a New Japan pay-per-view is all about. And I thought, with us crowning a new champion and entering a new era was also a very fitting way for everything to end going into the rest of the year. Because again, we got Best of the Super Juniors coming up, the G1 coming up. So we have a lot of big time wrestling still left to be done. Forbidden Door 2. So there's a lot of stuff coming up for New Japan. But Sakura Genesis is the first big step in an awesome show that I would recommend anyone to go check out.
Yeah, we're actually, I'm going to give it 9.25 for me, because there's a bit of everything, That's a really, really enjoyable stuff. And what's even crazier is when you think about the main event as well. Nearly 7 years to the day of making his New Japan debut. History repeating itself as Sanada cost Kazuchika Okada the IWGP Heavyweight title. But what's even incredible about that is that he becomes the 7th IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. So 7 is definitely a lucky number when it comes to Sanada. Just a couple of quick ones upcoming, because of course we had to have a deadline at some point, but like Monty mentioned earlier, Mercedes Moné will face Maui Iwatani with the title on the line at Stardom All-Star Grand Kingdom on April 23rd. The champion and challenger recently met a press conference in which Moné attacked Iwatani, and then Mercedes Moné made her first in-ring appearance for Stardom, attacking Mayu Iwatani. It makes me worried about Mercedes Moné title defense, but maybe I shouldn't be worried too much. We said Mercedes, well, we don't know. Mercedes Moné says everybody has the price to pay, and of course we didn't even know Mercedes Moné was a hoodie and a wig to reveal the CEO was behind the attack. We then also have Capital Collision, April 15th, which was past cut-off. The main event of that will be the Strong Openweight Tag Team Championships, the Motor City Machine Guns versus Aussie Open versus Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kazuchika Okada. We also will have Kenta versus Eddie Edwards, and Hiromu Takahashi and Tetsuya Naito versus Sanada and Yoshinori Kanemaru. But we'll fill the results afterwards, of course, next time we do it. The Forbidden Door is open again. Impact and NJPW. The Multiverse United, Only the Strong Survive, was on Thursday, March 30th. Injuries to Josh Alexander, Mickey James and Will Ospreay pretty fucked it, but don't worry. Tanahashi versus Bayley was the main event. I will be covering it in my Impact review next week. I thought we had enough to catch up on today, Monty, so we will do that. Speaking of Forbidden Door 2, number 2 is happening June 25th in Canada. I've only got 2 problems with New Japan. Too many titles to begin with. I just don't understand, especially with like the strong ones now. You got the strong tag titles, the strong open weight, never open weight. You've got fucking TV title. You've got US title. And I tell you what, that's another thing that's really pissing me off. Right, that's the second thing. It's Kenny Omega. All right, because people have a go at part-timers in WWE come and win a title and walk away with it. Or some people, I won't mention any names, have said about Roman Reigns ruining the WWE Championship because, holding the title. But Kenny came in January and has done fuck all. He beat Cobb at Dynamite, and then he posted a video. Dynamite. Then he posted a video saying he chastised anybody, and he says you've done an interesting 4-man tournament. Of course, he's talking about Hiroshi Tanahashi, Will Ospreay, Lance Archer, and Juice Robinson. All 4 men will go through. The winner of that will face Kenny Omega at the Forbidden Door. He said it doesn't matter. I will take my belt and walk into the next Tokyo Dome just as I walked out with the championship. Kenny, just do fucking something. Because this is what taking. Do you know what I mean? It just takes it away. We've had all this great action.
Trust me, if it's one great criticism of New Japan, it has been what they've done with the U.S. title every single time. I think Gato really gets to the point, or whoever makes these decisions all the time when it comes to the championship. I really think he gets to the point to where he looks at his booking sheet, he see the board, he see all of these championships, and he's like, you know what? How can I book the U.S. title away from Japan? How can I just get it away? How can I just get it out of the way so I can book the rest of these? Because that's what it felt like. It really felt like they gave it to Kenny just so he could do that. I was really hoping that we would have at least more. And I don't know, maybe this got something to do with the relationship with New Japan and AEW too. Like, if you're going to let Kenny Omega have a belt like that, and then, and still carry it around, taking it away from New Japan television, you could at least have a match, more than just one match that Jeff Cobb had to do all the work himself, by the way, to build, especially in Japan. He was the only one even talking about it. Like Kenny never even acknowledged it. They just popped up and announced that he would be fighting Jeff Cobb. So if it wasn't for me watching New Japan and hearing Jeff Cobb's promo, there was no build to it. So no one would have cared, even in AEW. So it's like, what's the point, really? So again, yeah, I agree 100%. The thing is about too many championships. I was 100%. New Japan started that. New Japan's been getting too many championships. Like back in 2013, people been telling New Japan they have way too many belts. So that's one thing. So the reason why I kind of backed off of it is because WWE and everyone else kind of just followed suit. So now we just have 6,000 championships everywhere.
But at least with WWE, though, they split it. Like, at least they have
at least you got those two
SmackDown,
brands,
NXT, But with Japan, it's just.
But every time I see the Usos still carrying around 4 championships, I'm like, can we please make this one belt?
Well, this is the thing. I hope the strong titles will. I don't know why create the strong championships and then end the program. Like what?
Yeah, that's the thing about that. I think that's just a lack of foresight when it comes to. I don't know why they haven't already merged those belts. Yeah. Or if you're gonna make the open weight, if you're gonna make the strong open weight belt one, just merge it with the never. I'm assuming maybe at some point they're gonna do that.
It's gonna be the longest title. It'll be the strong never open weight.
The never strong
open weight TV title championship.
Right. So I don't know. New Japan doesn't care though. That's just one thing I've noticed. They do not give a damn with how many people tell them how many belts
they do.
They just send belts on loan. Like they really
they
don't care.
This is the thing though, because I have been told how great New Japan is, and like I said, it is pretty good. They have still got some of the problems that other people have accused other companies of having, whether it be
definitely
not using the right wrestlers, too many championships, titles not being defended, and stuff like this. But again, it is still enjoyable, and we know what's ahead because we've talked about G1 Climax has been announced. G1 Climax 33 from July 15th to August 13th, which, again, who doesn't love that? So our next New Japan pod will be the 24th of June, which will be Forbidden Door, and then G1 in the summer. But, of course, Monty, you will have to fill me in on what happens between now and Forbidden Door, of course, in June.
Right. So, again, it made Best of the Super Junior. We do have coming up Hiromu. It won't, spoiler alert, he's the champion. It won't be Hiromu, guys. I know he's done it 4 times. I know some people are a little tired of Hiromu winning Best of the Super Junior. But, yes, Best of the Super Junior will be in May. And it is returning to its rightful position right after the New Japan Cup and Wrestling Dontaku on May 3rd. It's going to be after that. It's going to be in May. I should go get the date, but I don't feel like doing it at the moment. So I will fill you in later on that date, James.
No, I do. No,
but again, Best of Super Junior is coming up. Not lumped in with Tag League anymore in December. They're going to go and figure out who's the best of the Super Junior in 2023. In May, and who will be the person to challenge Hiromu, if Hiromu survives Uncle Nobu. So we'll see. So yeah, big time. And then what will happen? Will Hiromu's dream come true on May 3rd at Wrestling Dontaku? And will he finally be the junior heavyweight and heavyweight champion like he always wanted to be? That is his goal. And his goal is to one day fight Naito for both belts, even though Naito don't want the junior belt. But anyway, who cares? There's gonna be great stuff all through New Japan. And if you don't, like I said, if I'm, I will keep you up to date off, the mic and all of that, but also on my podcast, especially for Best of the Super Junior. In between moving, which I've already filled in my audience that I will be. I am moving this month, so I'll be doing my best to keep up with all the mess that goes on in wrestling, because we still have Backlash, we still have, like you said, AEW.
Stop.
So it never ends. Exactly. That's the one thing about this. It just keeps going. So I can't wait to talk about it with you guys as we continue on. And as like I always say, James, thank you for allowing me to mark out about Japanese pro wrestling on the podcast for a couple of hours. It's always fun.
It's a pleasure. No, like I said, it's nice, different level. I know maybe with NXT it might be the other way around, not 60-40, so to speak, but I know this one, people will obviously say I talk a lot, but again, it's nice to kind of break it up every now and again. But that is it. Like I said, it is a great show today. Don't forget we're across all social media. Twitter at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR JR. You can find the entire WNR team on the Twitter banner. Monty, where can people, if they haven't had enough Sakura Genesis, people go to listen to more from you talking about?
Right, you can go to @Monty Paul. You can get more of my takes, like you said, on Sakura Genesis. Also, you can go to Mind of Monty on YouTube. You can subscribe, and you can check out whatever clips I decide to upload. That may be my best format that I may try to lead on for the next few weeks. Then, that might be better than my podcast with everything that I have going on. So definitely keep your eyes on the YouTube channel. And, like you said, click those links, show us some love.
Shout out to also on Facebook and Instagram, across all Google platforms. So this email at podcast@gmail.com. YouTube and podcast with all latest clips and podcasts got at the same time on YouTube. Do SoundCloud on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate and review there. So that is it. So next episode, next weekend, and it will be me tackling Impact Wrestling. Find out what happens when a man leaves 3 months of Impact to review what mood will I be in. We've got No Surrender, Sacrifice, and Rebellion. So it's going to be like 5 hours. So I hope everybody enjoys it.
Shout out to Mickey James.
Yeah. Honestly, like I said, at this moment in time, Impact, it's going through some changes, but we'll see what happens. But until then, of course, don't forget, everybody's going to moan at me and go, when's Monty coming back? I said the entire team will be back this 4th. I'm going to say the 4th of May, but I think that's the anniversary. I think it's the 6th of May will be the show. Of course, the 8th anniversary. And a lot of people have asked me what we're going to do. I have no idea yet. But that's my
we'll just
for 2 weeks. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, New Japan was my issue this week. Impact's going to be my issue next week.
One at a time. One at a time. That's the only way you can get through it. That's
all you can do. All you can do. Until then, I have been James Rose, and I was joined by the mind of Monty. Again, Monty, thank you very much for not only kind of introducing more people to New Japan on this podcast, but actually kind of teaching a lot more, and even with your kind of knowledge of history, being able to fill out kind of more areas that are kind of maybe I've missed, if you know what I mean. So I always appreciate that.
Of course, always my pleasure to fill in those blanks, man.
Well, I'm going to fill in this blank now. So thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.